Now, the Angeles National Forest, a sprawling expanse of over 700,000 acres, serves as a rugged crown to the Los Angeles basin. It's often affectionately referred to as LA's backyard playground, a testament to its role as a vital recreational escape for millions living in the adjacent metropolis. Its accessible trails, soaring peaks, and shaded canyons offer a quick and profound immersion into the wild. Yet, this idyllic image belies a more formidable truth. The forest is a place of rugged terrain and harsh vegetation. It's a genuine wilderness where the line between recreation and peril is perilously thin. For decades, its canyons have echoed with stories of those who ventured in and did not return, making it a landscape with a long and often tragic memory. On June 22nd, 2025, this unforgiving playground became the setting for another baffling disappearance. Monica Reza, a 60-year-old hiker, vanished from the well trodden trails near Mount Waterman. Her case triggered a massive multi agency search operation, drew intense public scrutiny, and ultimately settled into the quiet, uncertain status of an open and ongoing investigation. The disappearance of an experienced hiker in good health and in familiar territory from the midst of her own hiking party presents a profound mystery. It's a case that not only highlights the inherent dangers of the wilderness, but also serves as a modern parable about the limits of technology, the complexities of public involvement in official investigations, and the enduring power of the wild to defy human understanding. In this video, we're going to provide an exhaustive examination of the Monica Reza case, from her last known movements to the somber conclusion of the initial search, placing her story within the broader, darker context of the many who have been lost in the San Gabriel Mountains. Join me. Let's walk and see. Now, the narrative of any missing person case begins with the last confirmed moments of their presence. In the case of Monica Reza, these moments are both deceptively simple and maddeningly ambiguous. Reconstructing the timeline of June 22nd, 2025, reveals a standard Sunday morning hike, then inexplicably deviated into a lasting mystery, creating an information vacuum that was almost immediately filled with questions, speculation, and a community's desperate search for answers. Monica Reza was not a novice lost in an alien environment. The 60-year-old Los Angeles County resident was, by all official accounts, an experienced and well-prepared hiker. Described as a petite woman, standing 4 foot 11 inches tall and weighing approximately 101 pounds, she had gray hair and brown eyes and was known to be in good shape. Sergeant John Gilbert of the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, the LASD, Crescenta Valley Station, confirmed this, stating that Reza and her friends, quote, went out weekly to hike in the area, end quote. This familiarity with the terrain and regular hiking schedule makes her disappearance all the more perplexing. Unlike many cases that involve ill-prepared or inexperienced individuals, Reza's profile suggests she possessed the skills and knowledge to navigate the challenges of the San Gabriel Mountains. She had no known health conditions that would have contributed to her disappearance, further deepening the mystery. The day began as a routine outing. Monica Reza was hiking with two companions in the popular Mount Waterman area of the Angeles National Forest. The last confirmed sighting of her occurred at approximately 9:10 a.m. near the 6,000-foot gate on Angeles Crest Highway, a location also identified as 60,001 Trailhead Avenue. The critical event, as reported by the authorities, involved the separation of the group. According to the Crescenta Valley Weekly, the trio split up when one of the hikers went ahead to retrieve their car, leaving Monica and the third hiker to continue together. It was at this point that the narrative fractures. Reza became separated from her remaining companion. The most crucial and enigmatic detail provided by officials is that she, quote, left the trail for an unknown reason near the ridgeline between the elevations of 7,000 and 8,000 feet, end quote. This single action, or inaction, is the pivot upon which the entire case turns. There was no report of a fall, an argument, or a planned rendezvous point. One moment she was there, and the next she was gone. A comment on a social media post from someone claiming to be a neighbor later added a layer of community disbelief. Quoting here, "How this could happen in a group setting is beyond me. Her family and the neighborhood is devastated." In the immediate aftermath, the flow of information was inconsistent, a common feature of fast moving crises, but one that fueled public confusion. An early discrepancy emerged regarding Reza's clothing. While most official reports and news outlets eventually settled on a consistent description, a red, long sleeved shirt, green hiking pants, and hiking shoes, some initial reports were less specific, mentioning only a long sleeved shirt. This minor confusion underscored a larger problem: the lack of a clear, detailed public narrative from her companions or the authorities about the precise circumstances of her disappearance. The information void was quickly filled by burgeoning public investigation on social media platforms, particularly Reddit. Members of the Southern California hiking community, many of whom were familiar with the trail and standard hiking practices, began asking pointed and logical questions that highlighted the narrative's apparent gaps. Their queries went straight to the heart of the matter. What was the timeline for reporting her missing? How long was the delay between her separation and the call to law enforcement? What were the identities of her companions? Were they experienced hikers as well? Why did the group separate in the first place? A practice often discouraged among hiking groups. One online commenter claimed the group was, quote, jogging quickly on the trail, end quote, while another Reddit user noted that a Facebook group dedicated to the search mentioned they were running back from the summit. This led to questions about why they were running and whether Reza was appropriately dressed for trail running. And perhaps most critically, users in the Facebook group and on Reddit questioned why an experienced hiker like Reza was reportedly without a water supply. These questions were not born of idle gossip, but of a logical attempt to reconcile the official story with the established norms of hiking culture. For experienced hikers, the idea of a companion simply vanishing without a trace and the lack of basic supplies like water seemed incongruous. The ambiguity surrounding the separation created a space for skepticism and alternative theories to quickly grow, turning a personal tragedy into a very public puzzle. The response to Monica Reza's disappearance was immediate, massive, and a testament to the highly organized and collaborative nature of Southern California's search and rescue community. Yet, the sheer scale of the operation also served to highlight the immense difficulty of its task. For 8 days, a small army of professionals and volunteers threw every available resource at the mountain, only to be met with a stubborn and unyielding silence. The operational lead for the search fell to the LASD's Crescenta Valley Station and its affiliated volunteer unit, the Montrose Search and Rescue SAR team. Founded in 1947, Montrose SAR is one of the most active volunteer rescue teams in both the county and the state, responding to an average of 95 to 135 calls annually and possessing deep institutional knowledge of the treacherous local terrain. However, the complexity of the search quickly necessitated a far broader coalition. What followed was a remarkable mobilization of mutual aid, drawing in specialized teams from across the lower half of California. The list of participating agencies underscores the gravity with which the case was treated: Altadena Mountain Rescue, Antelope Valley SAR, Sierra Madre Search and Rescue, San Dimas Mountain Rescue, and Malibu SAR from within Los Angeles County were joined by teams from San Diego, Ventura, Riverside, Orange, San Bernardino, Kern, and even Tulare counties. This statewide response transformed the area around Mount Waterman into a bustling command center, a coordinated assault on the wilderness. Acting Captain Ryan A. Vienna of the Crescenta Valley Station publicly expressed his gratitude for this extensive support, acknowledging the many search and rescue teams involved and thanking federal partners for their continued assistance. The search for Monica Reza was a showcase of modern SAR methodology, combining traditional boots-on-the-ground searching with a sophisticated suite of technology. From the air, the LASD's Air Rescue 5 helicopter became a constant presence, scouring the canyons and ridges. It was supported by fixed-wing aircraft, equipped with high-resolution imaging and unmanned aerial system drones, all aimed at spotting any sign of Reza from above. On the ground, searchers employed a variety of tactics. In a statement, the Montrose SAR team confirmed the comprehensive nature of their efforts. Quote, "We also want to assure the public that we are throwing every possible resource at this incident. To date, we have logged hundreds of search hours on the ground and in the air. Unmanned aerial systems, tracking canines, and specialized technology have all been used." End quote. This technological approach included working with experts to analyze cell phone forensic data to assist in identifying Monica's last known movements, a critical tool in establishing a more precise search area. The goal, as stated in a later debrief from Captain Vienna, was to leave, quote, "nearly no available resource untapped." Despite the overwhelming force of manpower and technology, the search teams were confronted by a formidable adversary, the mountain itself. The terrain where Reza was last seen is described as highly technical, exceptionally rugged, and steep, with punishing elevations that tested the limits of the searchers. The environment actively resisted the search, dictated and often defeating the tactics deployed. A telling example of this resistance was the use of canine units. According to a volunteer who was on the ground, search dogs were utilized on the first day, but were quickly deemed ineffective due to the harshness of the terrain and were not used on the trails thereafter. This is a significant detail, as it illustrates conditions so severe that one of the most reliable tools in the SAR arsenal was rendered useless. Sergeant Gilbert confirmed that the initial efforts focused on the established trails, where searchers looked for Reza or any sign of distress, such as discarded equipment or signs of an injury. When these grid searches yielded nothing, the operation was forced to move into the far more dangerous off-trail backcountry. This shift dramatically increased the risk to the searchers themselves and exponentially expanded the search area into a chaotic landscape of steep ravines, dense chaparral, and rocky outcrops. The failure of such a massive, well-equipped, and expertly coordinated operation to find any trace of Monica Reza after 8 days is a humbling testament to the fact that even in the 21st century, the wilderness can easily conceal its secrets from even the most determined human efforts. In parallel with the official, uniformed search for Monica Reza, a second civilian-led effort rapidly took shape in the digital realm. Fueled by social media and a passionate local hiking community, this grassroots response became a powerful force for raising awareness. However, it also generated significant friction with law enforcement, creating a dynamic that has become characteristic of missing persons cases in the modern era. This parallel investigation revealed a fundamental tension between the public's desire for transparency and immediate action, and the official need for procedural control and investigative discipline. Within hours and days of Reza's disappearance, the Southern California hiking community mobilized online. Posts on popular forums like Reddit's r/social hiking and r/hiking served as digital town squares, issuing a call to action. One post implored users to, quote, join hiking search parties and volunteer on the ground, and to share Monica's search campaigns and news stories to increase visibility, end quote. The response was immediate. A Facebook group titled Help Find Missing Hiker Monica Reza was created, quickly becoming a central hub for coordinating updates, sharing information, and organizing volunteer efforts. A meetup page was also established seeking expert hikers, mountaineers, and operations volunteers to establish a base camp and provide logistical support, demonstrating a sophisticated level of self-organization among the civilian volunteers. These online spaces quickly evolved beyond simple coordination hubs into active, crowdsourced investigation forums. With official information limited to press releases, users began to piece together clues, analyze inconsistencies, and formulate theories. The Reddit threads, in particular, became a repository of pointed questions directed at the silent official narrative. As previously stated, users with deep knowledge of hiking protocol questioned the separation of the group, the alleged lack of water, and reports that the hikers may have been running. This public discourse was not merely speculative, it was an attempt to apply logic to a situation that seemed to defy it. The community's disbelief was palpable in comments like that of a purported neighbor who was devastated and found it incomprehensible that someone could disappear from a group setting. This sentiment was echoed by many online who expressed shock that an experienced hiker could vanish so completely, so close to her companions. The digital search party was not just looking for Monica Reza, it was also searching for an explanation that made sense. This surge of public participation, while well intentioned, inevitably clashed with the protocols of the official investigation. Law enforcement's primary concerns in such situations are the preservation of evidence and the safety of the public. On the sixth day of the search, the Crescenta Valley Sheriff's Station issued a direct plea on its Facebook page, asking the public to avoid the search area. The post explained the rationale clearly, quoting here, uncoordinated foot traffic can unintentionally interfere with tracking evidence, delay progress, or even create new emergencies. Captain Vienna later reiterated this concern, noting that the area was highly technical and difficult for inexperienced hikers. This directive created a clear point of friction. On Reddit, some users immediately relayed the official message, urging volunteers to stand down and not interfere. However, others expressed frustration, with one user writing, quote, meanwhile, the poor lady is out there dying while the gatekeepers make sure only they have access to vital information like cell pings, end quote. This comment encapsulates the core of the conflict, the public's belief in the power of numbers and open information versus law enforcement's reliance on controlled, methodical investigation. Some volunteers attempted to navigate this difficult divide, with one searcher stating they had been checking in with SAR daily to ensure we weren't in the way or covering the same ground. Now, this illustrates the delicate and often tense relationship between official responders and the passionate, digitally connected communities that now invariably form around these tragedies. The Monica Reza case became a vivid example of how every modern missing person investigation is, in reality, two investigations: the official one, bound by procedure, and the public one, driven by emotion and the relentless logic of the crowd. Every large scale search for a missing person operates on a finite timeline, governed by factors of survivability, resources, and the diminishing probability of a successful rescue. For the search for Monica Reza, that timeline reached its conclusion after 8 days. The official announcement that followed marked a profound and somber turning point, shifting the case from a hopeful rescue mission to a long-term, uncertain investigation. This procedural change, while standard, carried immense weight, fundamentally altering the narrative of the case and the emotional landscape for all involved. On Sunday, June 29, 2025, exactly 1 week after Reza was last seen, Acting Captain Ryan A. Vienna of the Crescenta Valley Station issued a formal statement that officially changed the status of the operation. The language was precise and deliberate. Quoting here, while today concludes our initial response phase of this operation, the statement read, the investigation will continue by our Homicide Bureau Missing Persons Unit. End quote. This announcement did not mean the search was over entirely, but that its nature would change. Captain Vienna clarified that future search efforts will be limited and continuous as data and information further inform our efforts, he said. The era of saturation searching, with hundreds of personnel combing the mountainside, was over. It would be replaced by targeted searches, triggered only by new intelligence or specific leads. The mission had officially transitioned from one of active rescue to one of patient investigation and, implicitly, recovery. The transfer of a case to the Homicide Bureau's Missing Persons Unit is a significant development. While the unit handles all complex and long-term adult missing person cases, not just those involving suspected murder, the name itself carries a heavy connotation. For the public following the case, this move was widely interpreted as a sign that authorities no longer expected to find Monica Reza alive. On Reddit, the speculation was immediate. 8 days seemed short, one user wrote. I wonder if they have some strong evidence of foul play. In reality, such a handover is often a procedural necessity. The Homicide Bureau's Missing Persons Unit is equipped for the slow, meticulous work of a long term investigation, a task that falls outside the primary mission of a rapid deployment SAR team. Nonetheless, the public perception was powerful. The transfer signaled that the case had crossed the threshold, moving from the realm of hope into the colder, more methodical world of a potential crime or unexplained death investigation. This narrative shift was mirrored by a poignant change in the public posture of Monica Reza's family. In the first frantic days of the search, official statements consistently relayed that her family is concerned for her well being and asking for the public's help. This was a plea for mobilization, an attempt to cast as wide a net as possible in the hope of finding her. However, Captain Vienna's June 29 statement included a new and telling message. Quote, "On behalf of the family, we are conveying their request for privacy at this time." End quote. This transition from a public appeal to a privacy request marks the heartbreaking acceptance of a new reality for Monica Reza's family. The phase of public hope had ended, and a period of private grief and uncertainty had begun. The authorities acknowledged this immense emotional weight, with Captain Vienna stating, "Our hearts go out to Monica's family, friends, co workers, and the community who have shown great concern for her disappearance." The case was no longer an active crisis to be solved by the community, but a heavy burden to be carried by her loved ones and a cold case file to be managed by detectives. The disappearance of Monica Reza, while uniquely tragic to her family and community, is not an anomaly. It's a chapter in the long and unsettling history of the Angeles National Forest as a place where people vanish. The forest's vastness, challenging topography, and remote corners have made it a recurring setting for accidents, crimes, and enduring mysteries. Understanding this context is crucial, as it reveals that the forest is not merely a passive backdrop for these events, but an active agent, if you will, that facilitates disappearances and complicates resolutions. The official list of missing persons in California contained numerous entries tied to the Angeles National Forest, each case a story of a life interrupted by the wilderness. Several notable cases from recent decades illustrate the diverse ways in which the forest can become a place of tragedy. Accidents and environmental dangers. In July 2022, teenage couple Ethan Manzano and Sophie Rayanne Edwards disappeared while driving along the Angeles Crest Highway. Their story ended in tragedy when their Isuzu Ascender was discovered at the bottom of a mountainside. Investigators believe their vehicle hit a berm, lost control, and rolled down the steep embankment, a stark reminder that the roads traversing the forest can be as dangerous as the trails. More recently, in October of 2024, 80-year-old Gary Robert Nutzel went missing while hiking in the Chantry Flat area, which had just reopened after a 4-year closure due to the Bobcat fire. His case, which remains unsolved, highlights how fire-altered landscapes can disorient even local hikers and create new, unforeseen hazards. And then there's foul play and concealment. The forest's remoteness has also made it an attractive location for those seeking to conceal criminal acts. In February 1992, 20-year-old model Kimberly Pandelios disappeared after telling her husband she was going to an outdoor photo shoot in the forest. A year later, her partial skeletal remains were discovered just yards from where a witness had seen her with a group of men. Her case was reclassified as a probable homicide and was eventually solved 12 years after her disappearance when a convicted offender was tied to her demise through phone records. Then there's the case of Jonathan Auger, an off duty LASD deputy, which is even more mysterious. He vanished during a run in the Devil's Punch Bowl area of the forest on June 11, 1998. Despite extensive searches, he was never found, and his case remains an open wound for the department, shrouded in theories of foul play and internal corruption. These cases demonstrate that the wilderness can serve as both a lure for victims and a cloak for predators. Placing the Monica Reza case within this historical context reveals a clear and disturbing pattern. The forest has been the site of disappearances and deaths spanning decades, with causes ranging from tragic accidents to deliberate violence. Now, here's a few other selected notable cases from the Angeles National Forest, illustrating the recurring nature of these events. July 12, 1960, Bruce Howard Kremen disappeared and still missing. February 14, 1988, Albert O'Leary, still missing from the Angeles National Forest. Then, January 25, 2016, George Serrano Zaldivar went missing and is still missing. May 1st, 2016, Michael Patrick Flynn, missing from the Angeles National Forest, still missing. These cases provide powerful, undeniable evidence that the Angeles National Forest is a high risk environment. The variety of cases, accidents, homicides, and complete mysteries all share a common element: the Angeles National Forest itself. Its steep terrain contributed to the fatal crash of Manzano and Edwards. Its remoteness provided cover for the demise of Pandelios and the disappearance of Ajay. And its sheer scale and ruggedness have, to date, defeated all attempts to find Nutzel and now Monica Reza. This history serves as a somber warning that the forest demands a level of respect and preparation that is too often underestimated, with each new case reinforcing its reputation as a place where the line between adventure and tragedy is easily crossed. The case of Monica Reza remains suspended in the vast, indifferent wilderness of the Angeles National Forest. An experienced 60-year-old hiker, she stepped into the mountains for a routine weekly outing on June 22, 2025, and, for reasons that remain entirely unknown, vanished from the trail and from the lives of those who knew her. Her disappearance triggered an extraordinary response, a multi-agency search operation of immense scale and technological sophistication that scoured the rugged terrain around Mount Waterman for 8 days. Yet the mountain kept its secrets and yielded no clues. The official conclusion of this initial response phase and the transfer of the case to the LASD Homicide Bureau's Missing Persons Unit marked a somber procedural end to the hope of an imminent rescue. The investigation remains open, however, a file waiting for a new lead, a chance discovery by a future hiker, or a piece of information that might finally illuminate the events of that Sunday morning. The central questions that arose in the first hours of her disappearance still linger, unanswered and echoing in the public sphere. How and why did she become separated from her companion? What transpired on that ridgeline between 7 and 8,000 feet? The story of Monica Reza is a profound and painful reminder of the dichotomy at the heart of the San Gabriel Mountains. They are Los Angeles' playground, a cherished source of beauty, solitude, and recreation for millions. But they are also a wild and unforgiving place, a landscape that does not distinguish between the novice and the expert, and that holds its secrets close. For her family, friends, and the community that rallied to find her, her absence is a tangible grief. For the public record, at this point, it's another name added to the long list of those whose stories end with a question mark in the canyons of the Angeles National Forest, a place where a person can step off a familiar path and simply disappear. Well, friends, there you have it. I look forward to your comments on this one, but please keep it friendly and respectful. I'm Steve Stockton. Until we meet again, I'll see you a little farther on down the trail. Stay safe out there. And please, tell your animals I said hi.